methodologies and strategies for sustainable mental health.
Recording in progress.
Mind-body approach. Again, my name is Peter Bloomfield, and I'm an emergency physician. I'm based out of Los Angeles. I work in academia, and I work in the community as an emergency physician, and I'm also here representing Kailasa Nithyananda Hindu University. And we're very excited to give this presentation. If anyone has questions, you're free to ask in the chat. Just our time is a little bit tight, so if we're not able to get to your questions, we really strongly invite you to contact us afterwards. We're very excited about what we're talking about and what we're going to be presenting, and we're very happy to interact further. So this is the agenda of our presentation. We're going to have by Dr. Nithyananda, who's an AI expert, is going to give an intro to mental health. Followed by that, I'm going to be giving a talk on studies that have been done on a mind-body approach to mental health. This is connected to and run through Nithyananda Hindu University, and I think it's really groundbreaking, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Then Nithyananda is going to give an unclutching meditation, which is, this presentation is going to be part lecture and part experiential as well. So you should come out of here both informed and very blissfully relaxed. That will be our goal. If we achieve that, we've met our goals. Then Dr. Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, and Dr. Sandeep Pandov, who's a hospitalist connected with Johns Hopkins, Howard County, and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, who's a practicing anesthesiologist, who's connected with Nithyananda Meditation Academy, are going to be giving a talk on neuroscientific approach to mental health, and then a discussion about some lifestyle aspects that support positive mental health and higher consciousness. Then we're going to have another experience of pranayama, like a breathing exercise with Dr. Nithyananda. And then he's going to give a lecture called Sustainable Mental Health and AI, talking about how artificial intelligence can support sustainable mental health systems. That'll be followed by Dr. Prema Kochandaraman, who's a urogynecologist at the Women's Health Excellence Center. And she's going to talk about women's mental health issues. Then Dr. Patel, who's a psychiatrist who's representing Kailasa, Los Angeles, and also practicing in the community, is going to talk about mental health and children's issues. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here. Briefly, this Science Summit is geared at how we can bring new scientific innovations to help the UN achieve its sustainable development goals. We picked goal number 1, no poverty, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Really, if you look at the sustainable development goals, enhancing mental health will really help assist in achieving almost all of them. So we feel strongly that the work that we have and what we're bringing forth can help the UN achieve its goals and really bring a lot of positive mental health and well-being globally. So we think it's very perfectly aligned with this summit, and we're extremely grateful to the UN General Assembly for organizing this and for having us here. Just a couple estimates, 2.5 to 5 trillion US annual cost of mental health. That's looking at direct costs of clinical care and hospitalization, as well as indirect costs of lost work. And I'm going to posit that the cost of less than optimal mental health is so much higher in terms of lost potential. And that if we really optimize people's mental health in a very comprehensive way, the benefit will be much beyond 2.5 trillion or 5 trillion and really unquantifiable. So now we're going to move, Dr. Nithyananda is going to give a brief intro to our concepts of mental health.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Bloomfield. Really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us to participate in this session. We wanted to give a sense of what we mean by mental health. This definition of mental health is taken straight from the UN mental health webpage. Essentially, mental health is a state of well-being where we are able to cope with life's daily challenges, have great relationships on a daily, regular basis, learn to work well, have a successful career. And one aspect of mental health that is very often neglected is realize our full potential. of course, all of these are super critical, super important, and we tend to focus on coping with daily challenges and relationships more often than not when it comes to mental health, because that's what happens on a regular basis. But to emphasize that mental health is not just short term, but it's also long term. And part of our presentation today is going to focus on the long term, right? So there are three aspects to mental health. One is treating after the problem has happened, but two important parts of it are being preventative and also enhancing mental health. We'll talk about it briefly. Mental health is one of the greatest challenges of our time. Close to 1 billion people are affected worldwide, and this is from 2019. And all of you know that COVID only made this problem much worse. And today's estimates are probably a quarter to a third higher than what we saw in 2019. WHO predicts that half of everyone in the world at some point before they reach the age of 75 will experience mental health issues. And that is a huge number, right? That goes into the billions. And those in poverty are 2.5 times more likely to be affected compared to others. And this really says that mental health needs to needs to address everybody, and it affects the disadvantaged people the most. When we normally think of treating mental health, the traditional approach tends to be very much focused on treatment, which is after the fact and super expensive. And it tends to focus on emotional, psychological, and social aspects of mental health. Like emotional means, can we handle stress and emotions? Can we handle anxiety? Psychological is, can we change the thoughts to control thoughts? Maybe think of happier things. It's more like positive thinking. And social is, can we manage jobs and relationships? Can we manage the environment around us? To be truly sustainable, which is what this session is about, I think the traditional approaches have to be sustained with holistic approaches, which are not usually identified or addressed. So in that sense, we not only treat mental health, but also enhance mental health ahead of time and then prevent it from happening. This is far cheaper, more effective, and more sustainable. Instead of just handling emotions, we should handle the source of emotions, address the mind-body system as a whole. And Dr. Peter is going to talk about, have an entire session on how to address the mind-body system. Instead of just controlling thoughts, address beliefs. I think transforming our beliefs from life negative cognitions to life positive cognitions. This is so critical. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit. And finally, instead of thinking of mental health as just maintaining and managing the jobs and relationship, think of it as a spiritual quest, right? Realizing our peak potential. That is really what will unleash the happiness within us. Next slide, please. I just wanted to go through some definitions. You may hear these words through some presentations, and I wanted to define them ahead of time. Like incompletions are any past memory, thoughts, and emotions that restrict our spontaneity in the current moment and limit our actions in the future, which means they are limiting our future potential. They tend to manifest as like strong, low emotions such as anger, depression, agitation. So anytime you feel any of these negative emotions, you're probably experiencing incompletion. And of course, completion is a mental state where we do not have these incompletions. It gives us more freedom, more empowerment in the present moment so that we can reach our full potential in the future. A key part of this is having powerful cognitions, which are deep insights about yourself and the world that help you unlock your true potential by breaking free from limiting patterns. Let's look at this a little bit more in the next slide. So next slide, please. See, powerful cognitions go beyond positive thinking. They go towards transforming our beliefs. Many of us tend to grow up with very limited view of ourselves, not due to our own faults. It's because the world, imagine in a school, a teacher evaluates students. They only have a single way of evaluating students based on their own rubric. If a student doesn't fit into that rubric, then the student is graded low, and then the student grows up thinking that they don't have great potential. although they may be extraordinary in doing certain things that no one else can, right? That is what I mean by growing up with beliefs that are self-limiting. So if you have self-doubt, it stops you from trying things, which again reinforces the self-doubt. So they tend to be a vicious cycle. But very honestly, we are capable of extraordinary achievements. In fact, if you look at the scriptures, like the science of enlightenment as a scripture, there is one part which is like talks about extraordinary potentials, like even seeing things while blindfolded using the pineal gland. This actually has been affirmed by research. Scientific research has shown that some people can achieve something like this, which no ordinary person would think of themselves as capable of, but we are capable of extraordinary things. So a powerful cognition would be something that alters how you see yourself. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, we are not human beings striving for a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings enjoying a human experience. If you look at yourself that way, as a spiritual being, then you don't think of yourself as being limited by our humanness, but actually liberated by our humanness. So it's a different way of looking at yourself. Next slide. Great. I'm going to now hand it over to Dr. Peter Bloomfield, and he's going to delve into the mind-body studies.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nithyananda. So again, my section is titled Qualitative and Quantitative Studies of a Mind-Body Approach to Mental Health. And we love your questions and welcome them. Please feel free to put them. We're also, time is moving quickly, so we're going to have to move fast. We have a lot to cover. So this presentation is brought to you by Nithyananda Hindu University. I'm representing the research department of Nithyananda Hindu University. And this is a university that is styled after the ancient Hindu universities from antiquity. Fields of psychology, philosophy, medicine, sociology. Of course, mental health is covered very widely through this university. This has been reawakened through our chancellor, who I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And this offers thousands of free programs online to the global community. There's a large, diverse team of faculty, campuses all over the world, and many, many millions of people have benefited from the teachings of Nithyananda Hindu University. And we invite you guys to look into it further. Then the chancellor of Kailasa's Nithyananda Hindu University, this is, a being we could talk about all day, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, who is, as per Hinduism, he is an incarnation of Paramashiva, which is the primordial divinity. And starting from birth as a yogi, he has achieved high consciousness and enlightenment and incarnation status. And from that space, he has reestablished the United States of Kailasa, which is a Hindu civilizational nation in service to Hinduism. It also has sovereign land as a sovereign state, also functions as a civilizational state and a service-based state, contributing to the communities around, and as a foundational enlightenment ecosystem for all the people that are living there. He's also revived many dimensions of Hinduism, the powers of Paramashiva, the scriptures, temple rituals, and lifestyles for enlightened living, has revived the Sacred Arts University that has created 1 million deities for enlightenment ecosystems to use worldwide. And there's more than 16,000 Kailasa ecosystems functioning that provide many services to their members and the communities around them, including Andadan, giving food, growing agriculture, healing services, schooling. And then he's literally millions and millions of followers, over 1 million letters of commendation and recognition from political leaders, religious leaders, and is a very, very indescribably remarkable figure. And through this talk, I'll be referring to Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, sometimes as Swamiji, which is a way that we refer to him, which is an address of tremendous respect and tremendous affection because of the positivity he's brought to our life. So some of the research is done with him, and I'll be describing him that way there. So briefly. So mind body. So treating mental health through the mind is very challenging in that it goes beyond the mind. So efforts to powerfully address mental health have started to look at a mind-body system, and we'll be talking about it a little bit later about things like the biome and the physical structures of how the mind and body interact and the brain and body interact. And then we're positing that it also can extend to consciousness, and that how we experience our mental health is going to be a reflection of our mind and our body and our consciousness. So some of the programs that have been brought by Swamiji are going to have tremendous effects at the cellular and physiologic level. And then I'll be talking about those researches that have been done, and then how it shows up in the mental health of participants, which you'll see some remarkable findings. And then we're going to talk about what is going on in the mind and brain and consciousness of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Parameshivam, who I also call as Swamiji, as well as some of his disciples, and some really remarkable findings that help explain how we've been able to create these profound cellular, physiological, and mental health effects. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some lifestyle strategies that are aligned with, for individuals out there who may be watching for the masses, that can move towards the space of enhanced mental health. So the first topic we're going to talk about is cellular effects of mind-body intervention. So this was a 3-week program called Inner Awakening, again, organized by Swamiji and run directly by Swamiji. Involved activities like yoga, meditation, initiations, which we're going to talk about what that looks like at the EEG level, a sattvic diet, the science of completion, which we'll talk about as well. And participants' blood were drawn before and after. Some of them would have already been part of this enlightenment ecosystem, would have already known Swamiji, and some of them would have been new. And so the Dr. Rao, he drew blood and measured gene expression before and after the program. And they looked at hundreds of different genes being expressed, and they found huge changes in gene expression in multiple pathways. But the ones I'm going to highlight here are the pro-inflammatory pathways, which create inflammation in the system, which will, at the cellular level, be inflammation, but at the system-wide level will show up as stress and disease. Many of these pro-inflammatory pathways were downregulated. And when I say downregulated, it means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins, of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways that reduce stress and reduce inflammation were upregulated, again, 2 to 7-fold. And then there were 2 specific pathways that they noted. One is an anti-aging pathway called GATA2 and BM1 that was upregulated, which shows up in a follow-up study. So basically, gene expression change means the DNA may be, or may not be, but even if it's the same, the way the genes are being expressed is changing remarkably to tamp down inflammation and to support anti-aging. So you should be less stressed and more young, right? That's what we'd expect at the level of the organism. So based on that research, and this one was studied, the first one was published in Advances in Aging. The follow-up study was published in a journal called the Journal of Stem Cells. And based on the first study, they said, let's look at telomerase activity and let's look at peripheral blood stem cells. Telomerase is an enzyme that works to keep the cell genetically young. And many people know about telomeres. It's been very much talked about in the mainstream recently. The telomeres are like the aging system of the cells at the DNA level. When the telomeres in the chromosomes in the DNA get short, then the cell can no longer reproduce and becomes senescent or becomes no longer effective. So maintaining the telomeres long is a job of telomerase. So people who did this program, their levels at the end versus the beginning were pretty universally elevated. About half of them, it was double. And about a quarter of them, almost a third, were triple. So a huge increase in telomerase activity, which we would expect to keep them young at a cellular level, at the genetic level. And then their stem cells were increased in 90% of participants. Stem cells are used as the raw material for replacing damaged cells and structures in the body. So, an injury or just the natural aging, stem cells are used to replenish with fresh cells. And so an increase in that is going to mean more use at a cellular level. The last thing they did, this was not published in that article, but it was around that time, they measured mitochondrial metabolism through a test called the MTT assay, which is a surrogate for cellular viability, which is specifically a product of mitochondrial metabolism. So mitochondria are the organelles inside the cell that create power for the cell, energy for the cell. And so their metabolism was increased. This is actually not a typo. You see it's 967%. It's not a typo, it's really true. Basically 10-fold increase in mitochondrial metabolism. So you would expect that to show up in a massive surge of energy. So when you put together at the cellular level, a huge surge in energy, combine that with anti-aging, rejuvenation, and then reduction in stress. Now we looked at how does that show up at the level of the person's mental health. So this was a study that was done a couple years ago, and it's being put into manuscript right now. There was another mind-body therapeutic program. This was called Parameshivoham, and we'll show you at the end. It is available online. But again, it's completely organized and run and attended by our Swamiji, and done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. One is WHO-5, which looks at overall sense of well-being. One is SF-36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which looks at mindfulness, which is your ability to be present, right? Everyone is talking about mindfulness and being in the present moment. So we wanted to measure all these things in people before and after the program. Some of the people in the program had already done similar programs and taken the initiations, and some people were new. So it was a combination. It was a convenient sample because it's through an online program. And then we did a paired and unpaired analysis. So here's what we found. So the total score for US average, total score is around 18. A higher number means more depression, more anxiety, more stress. So you want a low score in this. For the participants, the score was already much lower than average initially, which may reflect that some people already had taken initiations and were involved in this mind-body approach to life. But afterwards, it dropped all the way to 6.1. Average is 18 to 6.1, a huge difference. And for the depression score, anything above 10 means depression. 5.7 is the average. For this, the post scores were 2, 2.7, so much, much lower than average and very far from depression. So this is going to show up as a really great state of well-being. And then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. For the participants, it went basically from 4 to 2. So very, very far from anxious. Even before the program, people were better than the US average in terms of anxiety, which again may reflect their previous initiations and their connection with this enlightenment ecosystem and this mind-body approach. But afterwards, even greatly reduced. And stress as well went from 4 to 2 or 5 to 3. Over 14 is stressed, and the US average is 8. You can see all these graphs on the left. You can see the line graphs is the paired, and then the bar graphs. Both paired and unpaired, highly statistically significant in all of these. So statistically and clinically, very significant improvement in people's feeling of mental health in connection with this program. The next, we looked at the WHO-5 Wellbeing Index. So this goes from 0 to 100, where a higher score is a higher sense of well-being. Less than 50 is going to correlate with depression. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, it'll vary around the world, but many populations will be around 50 or so. In our participants, they started around 60, and then went up to around 80 afterwards. So 80 is a huge sense of well-being, extremely high sense of well-being, really, really profound. And you can see again, if you look at the line graph and the bar graphs, everything's just going up. So really a profound sense of well-being from participating in this program, and both statistically significant and clinically significant. The SF-36, this is a very complex scale. It gives 9 total scores around physical and mental health. Again, the higher is better. We did just a paired analysis for this, and all of them were improved. 5 out of the 9 met statistical significance, and they were also clinically significant. I just included a couple graphs here. The total score, you can see it's going up for just about everyone, and then social functioning is going up for just about everyone. So again, increased mental and physical health was seen. And the last one is mindfulness. And this looks at the ability to be present. So this gives you a score from 1 to 6, where 6 will be the most mindful, means completely in the moment, completely present. This is a space people aspire to be in. The average for undergrad college students is given as 3.85. For Zen meditators is 4.38. For our group, they started off at 4.29 or 4.25, so almost at the level of a Zen meditator at the beginning. And again, this may reflect some people were already involved with this lifestyle, which supports a sense of mindfulness. But at the end, it went all the way up to 4.8, 4.65. So a huge jump. The paired analysis just missed statistical significance. The p-value is 0.51. The trend, I think, speaks for itself, but the unpaired analysis was statistically significant. So again, we see an increase in mindfulness. So then the question becomes, what are these programs? What is special about these programs that's bringing these really remarkable changes at the cellular level, particularly the mitochondrial assay? You'll never see anything like that. And all the other changes, the stem cells, the telomerase activity, the gene expression, and then these changes in mental health. So to better understand that, a lot of science has been done with Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. So I'm going to talk about a few scientific studies. First one is done with, I'll go as quick as I can, but it's so valuable and so important. I want to make sure we cover things. So Dr. Krishna at a Jim Thorpe Rehab Center in Oklahoma did PET scans and noticed heightened activity in the frontal lobe that he can create at will beyond normal human. A PET scan measures metabolic activity in the body structure being studied. In this PET scan of the brain, when Swamiji would activate his third eye through his will, the area that's called the mesiofrontal lobe, which is where the frontal lobes meet, right at the area where the chakra of the third eye, as per Hindu structure, Hindu spiritual anatomy, right where that is, that area would light up in the brain when he would activate his third eye, which I think is really fascinating. And then on EEG, which measures brain activity, they found complete control over brainwave activity. He could just control his brainwaves at will. There was another doctor, a neuroscientist named Acosta Urquida from Sound Health Designs in Wichita, and this was in 2005 and 2006. And they measured studied a variable called heart rate variability, which shows variability within the heart rate that reflects the autonomic system and how at ease someone is. You could say it's very complex. We don't have time to go into it further. But the key finding is when he would do healing on someone, they would completely sync up their heart rate variability. Means a complete cohesion and entrainment was happening. And then again, that a neuroscientist noted, this is a quote, Swamiji demonstrated a remarkable ability to shift between brain states during meditation, samadhi, which is like a superconscious state, it connected with the yogic tradition, and healing conditions. It said he is always in a permanent state of meditation. Then this is the one that I think is most fascinating. There's a Dr. William Collins. This was done in 2005 in St. Louis. He's a neurofeedback researcher who was looking at EEG. And he noticed when he got a baseline reading, he kept changing the probes and changing the settings because he said there's almost no activity on the EEG as baseline. Means when he was sitting there in a calm state, the brain was just completely quiet electrically. There was very little activity, which we will posit will correlate with a low thoughts per second, very little mental activity. So he could completely kind of shut off the mind, and it would show up at the EEG level. That shocked the researcher. And then when he would go into meditation, there would be a huge surge in gamma waves, which we'll talk about shortly, the significance of gamma waves. But the key part is when he was healing, his right heart of brain would go into what the researcher called extreme gamma activity, which I think is likely to be high amplitude gamma waves, and I'll explain why. But then the person he was healing, when he was doing direct one-on-one healing, they went into the same increased extreme gamma activity in the whole brain. Also, when he did just a general healing that wasn't specific to the person in the room, again, their whole brain of that person would go into a high gamma activity. So we're positing that this is how an EEG of initiation looks. When a being who has attained this state of consciousness, which I'm calling as a super consciousness, that's a goal of Vedic traditions, yogic traditions, Hinduism, and they transmit it to someone they're healing or a disciple or any other person, be like an initiation. It's putting them in the same brainwave state that's going to have profound effects on their well-being, like the things that we demonstrated earlier. So he was able to transmit it to people he was healing. Some quotes, it said from Dr. Collins that he couldn't believe that he said there's no such thing as normal for you. He couldn't believe that his baseline level of mental activity. They talked about the power of the gamma waves in the mind. They take a huge amount of metabolic activity, but both Swamiji and the person he healed were completely refreshed and energetic afterwards. And the doctor said, if I had done this, I'd be fatigued and sleeping by the time it's over. So for some reason, this intense metabolic activity of the brain did not cause fatigue. It caused rejuvenation. And then he said, the world is not going to believe this. This is extremely unusual. It seems as if his brain was changing with hundreds and thousands of nerves in the brain was being rewired. So again, it's a really remarkable thing. One thing that I'd also say is in the ashram, they've done again, when Swamiji is doing initiations to his disciples or people visiting his ashram as well, he puts their brain in gamma waves, high amplitude gamma waves, which is a very specific kind of gamma wave that's almost never seen. So real quick primer on brain waves. Brain waves is the measurement of the electrical activity in the brain through an EEG, which is like an EKG for the brain, electroencephalogram. You can see delta waves are very low frequency waves from 0.5 to 4 hertz on the bottom left. This is like when you're in deep restorative sleep, or if you were like in a coma. Theta waves, these are 4 to 8 hertz. These will correlate if you're in REM sleep, if you're daydreaming, if you're in a deep meditation but not sleeping, or very drowsy. This is what you'll have. Beta waves would be, we'll go to alpha waves here. Alpha waves are the next state. They go from 8 to 12 hertz. This is if you're awake and alert and kind of receptive. Could be a listening state. Many of you guys are in alpha right now. If you close your eyes, you go into heavy alpha waves. And then beta waves would be if you're like taking a quiz, doing a task, if you're at work doing a task that requires your mental activity. It's 13 to 25 hertz. So you'll notice this illustration doesn't have gamma waves. Part of that is because gamma waves, people didn't even know about them until relatively recently, because you normally cannot see them on a normal EEG. They were normally detected with something called a QEEG, where you take a computer and look at the raw data and see tiny little, very, very low amplitude up and down high frequency waves that you can't really see with your naked eye, but the computer can calculate them. And they've been shown traditionally in everyone's brain a little bit. When people have a stroke of insight, like the light bulb goes off, there'll be a little flash of gamma activity, but just for a second, and only when that insight strikes, which you can't bank on, right? It's like when the muse speaks to the artist, like that. It's also connected with enhanced creativity. Interestingly, in populations and individuals who have very little baseline gamma activity, they're much more likely to develop Alzheimer's dementia. In individuals who have a higher baseline, like very low levels, I'm talking that you need a QEEG to detect, they're not going to have dementia, Alzheimer's dementia. And even in animal models, they've showed if they can induce gamma waves, the plaques and tangles that you see at the cellular level of dementia start to get cleaned up. So the idea is that gamma activity can prevent and possibly even treat Alzheimer's dementia. So if we're looking at Alzheimer's prevention, which is a huge global issue, gamma waves, I think, are definitely something to look at. And they're currently working on devices using sound and light to sort of reverse engineer that state. We would posit that it can also be created through spiritual activities and mind-body interventions. The last group I'll talk about is long-term meditators. These were Tibetan Buddhists that have been meditating for 10 to 20 years, like their whole lifestyle was meditation. Like monks that would meditate for 6 hours a day, or a huge amount of meditation. This came out in 2004 by Dr. Davidson in Wisconsin, a really breakthrough publication. When they would go into a oneness and compassion meditation, they could go into sustained gamma. That's the only other time that I'm familiar outside of Swamiji and what I'm going to talk about that we've seen sustained gamma, but it was in long-term meditators while they were deep in meditation. So what we've seen that's unique and different, and that I've not seen described anywhere else, is our Swamiji can himself go into gamma at will, and he can transmit it to others at will, both through healing and through initiation. That itself is remarkable, and it speaks to the power of the programs and how the mental health of whole communities can be uplifted that way. What is even more exciting to me, and I've been personally had the opportunity to do EEGs. Some of these very high level disciples are developing this capacity, which means this level, which we're positing as a space of super consciousness, very high level of consciousness that correlates with concepts of enlightenment that have been talked about throughout history. This level, this capacity can be built in people and built in large groups of people over time. So this is raw data of an EEG of a very high level disciple of Swamiji, and you can see gamma activity is over 30 oscillations between these two lines is 1 second. You can see the whole brain is in gamma. And this person can go on and off at will at any time. While they're talking, while they're doing anything, they can just do it at will. They describe intense bliss associated with that, intense oneness. I've also seen another disciple who can do slightly lesser at will, and I've seen a few others that go into a very high beta, almost on the cusp of this, that's extremely atypical for normal beta activity. So I see this as progression in their capacity to reflect this state of consciousness in their spiritual growth. And so they would do this by connecting with Swamiji, connecting to a state of oneness, doing things like blindfold reading and materializing. These are yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing these things, they'll describe a very low TPS, which again, TPS is thoughts per second, means completely quiet mind. And their whole sense of space will be just completely spacious and unclutched. So we're really excited about this. I think it has tremendous significance for humanity on many levels. And we're excited to research it further. So we'll be talking a little more at the end. Anyone who's out there who's listening, if you're interested in this space of consciousness and how to recreate it and measure it and study it, please contact us, because this is a field we're excited to dive into. A lot more research has to be done. Real quickly, some lifestyle things. I'm not going to go in detail because I'm over time already. But mind-body consciousness approaches can create this possibility of really powerfully enhanced mental health and intense states of bliss and higher consciousness. The yogic science, basically, you'll develop good mental health on the road to enlightenment is how the yogic science works. Lifestyle, sattvic diet, and fasting. Later, another presentation is going to talk about these things. Detoxing with herbs. Puja is a ritualistic connection to higher consciousness. Yoga pada, yoga and pranayamas and meditations and kriyas. We'll be doing all of these experiential in this presentation. And then knowing pursuit of powerful cognitions means knowing yourself as a very powerful, connected being that is worthy of having this life experience and can express this life experience. And one thing that I think is connected all throughout the world, Hindu diaspora, people who have come from Hindu civilizations or backgrounds and spread all over the world, they have extremely low rates of depression, divorce, and really high income, high productivity. And we think it relates to this lifestyle and the residue of this lifestyle in their system. So thank you so much for your listening. I complete for going a little over time. But now we're going to have a beautiful unclutching meditation with Sri Mukta.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. What I wanted to say here is that Dr. Bloomfield talked so much about the state of space where you have fewer and fewer thoughts. That's the fewer thoughts per second. And he showed quite a few brain scans, which actually denote that kind of a state, right? So there is a meditation. We just wanted to play a little video about a meditation that can help you get to that state and calm your mind down. Like very often we are all filled with anxiety, and this meditation personally has helped me calm myself down in a moment of stress or anxiety, or in a moment of indecision. I don't know what to do, right? And I want to have clarity of mind. Too many thoughts are running in my mind. I just take a moment to practice this meditation where I unclutch from my thoughts. So I want to take you through this meditation, but let's watch this video briefly. Go ahead, please play. Audio is not, it's not audible, Peter.
Sorry, let me get back there. 1 second. It should be audible now.
Nothing can be compared to the unclutching. I'll just put the whole unclutching in one line. Listen. Decide not to engage or continue, create, maintain, fight, destroy, play with any thinking process in you. That's it. Do not create, sustain, maintain, fight with, try to destroy, any way engage. Do not do anything with your internal thought process. Just unclutch. And I tell you, it will develop such powerful will persistence in you. Such powerful will persistence. Extremely powerful will persist in you. Nothing can be. Compared to the unclutching process. In the initial level, you may be a little deluded here, there. In few seconds, you will see you are not thinking process. You are beyond your thinking process. You will sit with yourself in a very matured way, highly matured way. Sit with yourself with highest maturity. That is pure unclutching. Pure unclutching. Sit straight, close your eyes, unclutch. Decide to unclutch. Disengage, unclutch from all thought process. Creating, maintaining, destroying, fighting, engaging, all thought process. Unclutch from all thought process. Just sit, be unclutched.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, we're going to give you a few minutes just to go through this unclutching. It's a great experience. I think it's really worth seeing that how simple a process can really bring your stress levels down. So I would really advise you to I'm going to give you a few minutes, play some meditation music. essentially, when he says disengage from all thought processes, one technique I use is I use the word unclutch itself. Like when I observe I close my eyes, observe my thoughts. When any thought arises, I just say unclutch, which means I disengage from associating with that thought. Typically, our thought currents are one follow the other. First, I think about my house. I'm thinking about my dog in my house, and then the food the dog didn't eat, and so on and so forth. So it's an association of thoughts that creates problem. So if you unclutch from each thought as they appear, then you don't associate them, and then they just become random series of thoughts which don't affect you. That's the whole idea. So initially you can use the word unclutch, and but after a little while you can just unclutch without using that word itself. You would see that. So just close your eyes. We're going to play music for a little bit, and then just keep unclutching. Every time a thought comes, just unclutch without engaging with it. Please play the music. Peter, we're not able to hear the music.
It's playing here. It's just flute-like. You hear that?
Yeah. Do you want to share?
You able to hear it?
No. So are you sharing the audio from your output from your computer?
Yeah.
While sharing video? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll turn up the volume. Are you able to hear it now?
No.
How about now? You able to hear it now?
Yes.
Unclutch from your thoughts. Close your eyes and unclutch from your thoughts. Great. Peter, can we pause? Awesome. One of the things that you would have noticed is while you're unclutching is your mind gets disengaged. As your mind gets disengaged from thoughts, we tend to listen to the outside sounds more clearly, like bell chiming or people talking, cars going by. That's a positive sign. But understand that even those are thoughts. And next time you try this, unclutch from those also. And when you start unclutching from those thoughts, you will start listening to more of your inner sound, like your breathing becomes more visible to you. Sometimes the blood pumping through your heart becomes more audible to you. Unclutch from those also. So there is as you hear things, those are also thoughts. They're triggering thoughts inside of you. So next time, just keep unclutching deeper and deeper, and you'll see this deep sense of silence coming in. So it's a great technique. You can try it anytime. There's no specific time or place where you should do this. You can do it anytime. With that, I'll invite Dr. Aranke and Dr. Sandeep and Dr. Nirmala to take us on to the next session. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Aranke. I'm a practicing neurologist in the U.S. In Augusta, Georgia. And I will be sharing a little bit about findings on neuroscience in depression, as well as positive findings in lifestyle measures such as yoga and meditation. So next slide. So the brain plays a very important role in regulating mood and cognition, not only through activity of certain brain structures, but also pathways or circuits of communication between different brain regions are important. I'm going to be showing how, so at this point, studies in depression, yoga, meditation have, kind of quantified the mood based on validated scales, looking at anxiety and depression. We have seen that yoga and meditation has a positive effect, but recently we're able to actually look at the brain structure itself and brain functioning and how it actually is affected negatively in depression and positively in yoga and meditation. And then Dr. Pandav will be talking about the role of the gut-brain axis. So it turns out not only the brain is important, but the gut, in a sense, is the second brain. It has a very extensive nervous system called the enteric nervous system. And there's a communication between the brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really important in mental health. And it turns out lifestyle measure of diet is very crucial in mental health. So eating a Western diet has been associated with poor mental health. And while just by switching over to whole food, plant-based diet, you can make big improvements in mental health. So again, we're highlighting how just lifestyle measures, which cost very little to nothing, such as yoga, meditation, and diet, can make a huge impact. And it can reduce the costs associated with current treatment model based on medications, therapy, which is expensive, medications have side effects. And so we can go on to the next slide. So many studies have been done on depression, looking actually at the brain structure. So we've, or loss of brain cells in important areas of the brain, areas which regulate memory, learning, and emotion, like the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for attention, planning, judgment, impulse control, the orbital frontal cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions. And it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others, so social attachments. It turns out pain processing pathways are negatively impacted in depression. And one way is maybe the cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain involved in pathways for reward, motivation, and feeling pleasure. And so we can go on to the next slide. So not only is the gray matter or the brain cells, are they affected in depression, but also very importantly, the white matter system is affected. The white matter is very important in, this is how different areas of brain communicate. And you can see here, when there's specialized studies done on white matter tracts, these are negatively impacted in depression. And the colored portions of the brain imaging studies show, for example, some brain white matter pathways or tracts which are negatively affected in depression. We can move on to the next slide. So what has been really, in a way, groundbreaking is that initially we thought that brain cells, we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new brain cells, and this can happen throughout the lifespan. So this in itself is like very groundbreaking information. And it turns out yoga and meditation, which costs nothing, can in fact regenerate areas of the brain. So they've looked at, for example, in yoga practitioners, certain regions of the brain have higher volume or more gray matter or neurons. For example, the medial and superior frontal gyrus. This is an area responsible, executive functioning, so in other words, planning activities, social cognition, which lead us to interact well with others. The presental and parahippocampal gyrus and hippocampus are very important for memory and handling your stress. These are enhanced in practitioners of yoga. Areas like the insula, superior temporal gyrus, occipital gyrus, and cerebellum are important for emotional awareness, processing of language and speech, as well as empathy. So being able to empathize with others and relate to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that, and these are enhanced with increased amount of brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing fear pathways. This is sometimes called it's a important part of our very primitive brain, which is there to protect us, but can become dysfunctional when we have emotional trauma and different sorts of mental disorders. And in fact, this area, interestingly, it ends up being a little bit reduced in volume, telling us that maybe yoga practitioners have lower levels of fear or tendency for fear. And we can move on to the next slide. Now we can move on to what we found in practitioners of meditation. So they have been studied structurally, but also functionally. So we have functional MRI studies which look more than the brain structure. It looks at different areas of brain that are activated during certain tasks. And basically, functional MRI studies have shown that there's increased activation in practitioners of meditation in regions of the brain involved in attention and controlling the autonomic nervous system, such as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, parietal cortex, hippocampus, temporal lobe, anterior cingulate striatum. These are also involved in emotional processing, some of these areas. Very interestingly, the prefrontal cortex is more active in practitioners of meditation. And one thing that happens when the prefrontal cortex is activated is an important brain chemical called glutamate is released. And this then sends a signal to another part of the brain called the hypothalamus to release beta endorphins. Maybe you've heard about endorphins. These are chemicals which give us the sense of a euphoria or bliss, and may explain why many practitioners of meditation experience a sense of bliss during their meditation. Also, imaging studies have looked at the thickness of the cortex. This contains the brain cells or neurons, and it turns out these are thicker in various brain regions listed there. These are regions that are important for emotions, decision-making, learning, and memory, and also the ability to monitor ourself, to know what's happening within us and our environment, and as well as having self-awareness about fear and anxiety. Interestingly, I also wanted to mention that in yoga practitioners, they've looked at yoga practitioners over their lifespan, and they tend to have less of the natural loss of brain cells that happen to us as we age. So it's also protective of the loss of brain cells or neurons. So very important for as we age, it can have a very promising effects and protective effects. Other studies have been done looking at the brain chemicals, which are important in regulating our emotion and mood. At baseline, meditators have a higher level of serotonin, which you may have heard about. Serotonin is the brain chemical which is important for helping us to have a sense of well-being. And this level is reduced in people who are depressed. But meditators at baseline have a higher level of serotonin. And it, in fact, further increases after a meditation session, which is very interesting. They also tend to have a lower level of norepinephrine. This is a brain chemical associated with anxiety. And they've been shown to have increased amounts of dopamine as well. The dopamine is the brain chemical responsible for the feeling of pleasure or reward. Interestingly, studies in both yoga and meditation practitioners have shown that they have lower levels of a very important hormone called cortisol. This is a stress hormone released at the time that we're stressed out. You may have heard of the flight or fight response, and so this is released. And unfortunately, what this does also is this leads to a cascade of other events in the body, including more inflammation, which ends up increasing risk for various health problems that we see today, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease. There was a very interesting study they took up people who were depressed and put them through a 12-week program of yoga. And they measured their amount of anxiety and depression before and after, and looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety. And they showed there was a significant improvement in the amount of anxiety and depression that they were experiencing before and after, to the point that many were no longer depressed. And the GABA activity was boosted basically to the same level as people who were healthy and who did not have depression. So this is all very promising findings. You can move on to the next slide. I'll invite Dr. Pandav to discuss the next few slides.
So Dr. Pandav will discuss these slides quickly, and then we'll have a very short video and short discussion to follow. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandav.
Hi, this is Dr. Pandav. I practice in the US near Baltimore. And thank you, Dr. Shachi, for the input. Basically, the gut-brain axis is a very important axis. You know, these days, there's a buzzword, healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically, the brain is connected to the gut by a vagus nerve. So what it means is what happens in the gut affects what happens in the brain. So the next question comes is, how can we impact the gut in a best possible way? So, you know, the whole food plant-based diet, which is called Sattvic diet, which basically comprises of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, and least amount of unprocessed food and meat. So this is what whole food plant-based diet is. We also call it Sattvic diet. So what essentially this diet does is, it is high in fiber, high in antioxidants, high in polyphenols. So basically what it does is, it fuels the healthy bacteria to grow maximally. So when that happens, it produces neurochemicals like serotonin. So these send signal via the vagus nerve to the brain, so reducing the anxiety and depression. So this is one impact. And the second impact it does is that it improves the bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation, and so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces all the inflammatory bowel diseases and as well as the autoimmune diseases. So in nutshell, basically the healthy microbiome is caused by whole food plant-based diet. Next slide. This just goes over a few things. Microbiome in the gut plays an important role in the gut-brain axis, as I talked about, and it produces neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, glutamate, and microbial composition is crucial. Some contribute to good mental health and others are detrimental and it names few of the bacteria. And also it has positive impact by regulating taurine, cortisol, metabolic pathways, and short chain fatty acids, reducing stress and anxiety. And last thing I already told, the whole food plant-based diet. The next slide.
Well, you can go very quickly over this, Pandav. I believe we have a video and then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh. Are we waiting for the video?
We're waiting for you to quickly go over this slide.
Okay, yeah, so inflammation is higher in some people with depression. Whole food plant-based diet reduces inflammation, antioxidants, phytochemical, and promotes a balanced neurotransmitter system. Elimination of animal foods reduce inflammation, carcinogens, as I was telling you. People who ate raw fruits and vegetables versus cooked or canned fruits and vegetables had significantly improved mood. And as I talked about, processed and packaged food are harmful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pandav.
Actually,
Thank you.
plants are also life, no doubt, but they have not developed a biomemory where the pain is stored and gets inside your system and creates pain. No. So if you consume them, if you consume plants, vegetables, there is no pain going inside your system along with it. There is no biomemory going inside. Pure energy food, only that goes inside. But with the animal, the muscles have a capacity to store muscle memory and biomemory. So when the animals are killed, they leave a tremendous pain, suffering. They are not going to say, let the whole world be blissful and die. No. They leave so much of suffering and die that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband. Understand? No. For a very small reason, you fall into depression because your biomemory is prone to depression. Understand, when you are eating the dead animal's flesh, you are also eating the muscle memory, biomemory recorded in it. That becomes part of you. You become prone to that pain. You become prone to that pain. That's the reason I request you to be a vegetarian.
Okay, now we'll have a very quick summary and very brief discussion about some of these lifestyle choices that support healthy gut biome and improve mental health.
So in summary, we've seen that the brain physiology, their functioning, structure, chemistry, and gut health are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective scientific information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve mental health. So there's various lifestyle practices in Hinduism, which Swamiji is reviving and promoting. And he's unique in promoting some of these lifestyles, such as Nirahar Samyama, and the importance of certain herbs or aushadas for detoxification of the body and in further enhancing health. So we're getting beyond just preventing disease. We're actually, these can help us to live our optimal health. In other words, reaching our full potential, mind, body, and consciousness. So I'd just like to open up the discussion now to also Dr. Bandav and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji. And maybe we can discuss how the Hindu lifestyle practices that Swamiji is promoting have made an impact in our mental well-being. And so maybe if we'd like to go ahead and start, maybe Dr. Bandav can talk about what is Nirahara Samyama and how his experience that he's had with that.
Sure. I always practice whole food plant-based diet, but through Swamiji, I came to know about Nirahara Samyama, which is really a step above that. So essentially, it comprises of taking a liquid diet for almost like 3 weeks. And I was amazed by its benefits. What I realized was, in order to digest the solid food, it uses body's energy. But when you are taking liquid diet, it's almost like pre-digested. So your body doesn't use energy to digest it. So it brings your energy level up. And it has effects at physical plane, mental plane, emotional plane, spiritual plane. That's what I found. So the least is, you lose weight. And but other than that, so emotionally you feel much better. You feel much lighter, your energy level goes through the roof. And the last, your meditation deepens like amazingly to a deep, deep level, in the sense that you're not doing meditation, it is kind of happening to you. So it's a different state to be in. And I found this to be amazingly powerful technique. I think, Dr. Shanti, you may have also gone through this and you can add further.
Yes, yes, definitely. I have done the Nirahara Samyama a few times, and this was something that's completely new to me. I think only Swamiji talks about this. I had, been practicing different Hindu spiritual practices and lifestyle measures, but this was something completely different. So I definitely experienced very similar to Dr. Bandav. Of course, there was weight loss, but that feeling of lightness and energy was definitely there. And it turned out it really wasn't as difficult as one thought. After the first day or two, it actually was not difficult to sustain. And definitely the mind was quieter. People around me noticed. I mean, even your skin will start to glow. You will even appear younger. People would comment on that, wonder what I was doing. And so I definitely also experienced those similar kinds of benefits,
when I was doing it, I felt like saying, darn it, I should have done it earlier.
Yes, yes, very much. So I wished I had, I really didn't know about any of this before Swamiji. So
I think Dr. Shivaji had an experience that she maybe would like to share about Nirahara Samyama.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Shivaji, did you have an experience you wanted to share?
I think you're muted, Ma. Dr. Shivaji, you're muted.
Sorry. So sorry about it. So it's other than the other benefits of what you have said, mental clarity, and you're more happier and more lighter and all that. What happened was I used to get every summer allergic reactions. When I go to the garden, even the lawn, I'm really very bad allergy. So I had to take antihistamine all the time. And it actually affected my work style as well. So it was, I think, about 12 years ago, Swamiji introduced the Nirahara Samyama, 12, 13 years ago. The first time I did the Nirahara Samyama, after that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely, and after that I did a few times of Nirahara. Even with the first time, it disappeared. I thought this is, it's being a doctor and being an anesthesiologist using all the time antihistamines on patients. And it was so good, and I used to tell everybody, about the Nrahara Samyama. This is my personal experience about that. And then, are we going to talk about Aushadha?
Jump in, Ma. Dr. Shivaji, thank you so much for sharing that. I know there's so much more to talk about. We're going to talk about Aushadhas, Harataki, a very powerful detox herb that Swamiji has recommended for us. And then Nitya Yoga is a yoga that conceived by Swamiji that has 12 components, 12 aspects of yoga, which is very unique. And of course, other yogas are also part of this lifestyle. And so thank you so much, you guys, for this discussion. We could discuss so much longer. We've met some time constraints. So we're going to move on to the next session, which is a pranayama breathing exercise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because we are running out of time, I'm going to go through this very briefly. But what Dr. Aranke and others like Dr. Pandav, all of them discussed, is that it's a simple change in lifestyle can lead to an amazing improvement in mental health, in physical and mental health. And part of changing lifestyle is not only practicing yoga, and unfortunately, we're not going to be practicing any of the yoga asanas today because it's difficult to demonstrate in this particular venue. But we can try a couple of pranayama techniques that can work for you. And these are simple techniques that can cool us down, make us reduce the anxiety, de-stress us. And so I'm going to teach you a couple of pranayama techniques which will be actually useful later when we go further in this program. So simple technique is called Shitali Pranayama, and references are given here. These are all scriptural references. You can search for them online. You can actually find them. Shitali Pranayama is a technique to really cool down and de-stress. So it's a very easy technique. Sit up straight and roll your tongue. And roll your tongue and just put it outside of your mouth just a little bit so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose, right? Like this. So inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose. You will see that this instantly, you will feel that the feeling of coolness in your chest. It really cools you down to the point like you'll actually feel your body temperature go down by a couple of degrees. The deeper you do the inhalation, the deeper the cooling happens. And you will actually feel it in your chest, in the middle of your chest. If you don't feel it, try breathing in a little bit more deeper. Continue doing this. How many of you feel that deep cooling happening in your chest? You actually feel it there, right there. It's such an instantaneous, it works instantaneously. And you also see your mind is calmed down. Great. Now let's move on to the next pranayama. Normally when you do this Shitali Pranayama, you do it 21 times. Like breathing in and breathing out, that's one cycle. Do it 21 times. It's very powerful. The next pranayama I'm going to teach you is called Anapana. It's very simple. It's breathing in through one nostril and breathing out through the other nostril. So You start off by holding your thumb, pressing your right nostril with your thumb, and then breathing in through only your left nostril. And once you've taken a deep breath, close the left nostril and then breathe out through the right nostril. And after you breathe out through your right nostril completely, typically you take like almost twice as long to breathe out than breathe in. So count breathing in. If you count breathing in 5 times, breathe out till the count of 10. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Close your left nostril and breathe out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now breathe in through your right nostril again. And breathe out for the count of 10 through your left nostril. If breathing out makes you feel stressed because I'm asking you to breathe out twice as long, you don't have to do it. Just breathe out like till the count of 6 or 7. That's also okay. Whatever makes you feel relaxed. Typically, breathing in the alternate nostril breathing actually makes you feel quite relaxed. Okay. Let's move on to the last technique. The last technique is called Brahmari Pranayama. It's an amazing technique to clear your mind of anxiety-inducing thoughts. And Swamiji has given this reference. And this reference, you can go search for it online. It's a humming meditation. Essentially, what you do is you hum. Typically, you have to close your eyes, nose, and mouth, and then just hum. So right now, I'm going to only teach you the humming part. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then hum deeply and intensely without stopping. Like as long as possible, just hum. And then when your humming stops, take a quick breath, let the natural breath happen, and then start the humming again. So for example, it sounds like this. When you do that, hum as long as possible. When you take another breath and hum again, very soon you will see that the hum is one continuous hum. You hardly notice the difference between one hum and the next. And you will start feeling in the center of your forehead, you will start feeling a constant buzz. And that buzz will start clearing out all the thoughts in your mind. Right? It's a very beautiful technique that just flushes negative thoughts and anxiety from your head and just fills it with the hum that is pure thought, nothing else, right? Let's try doing this for a few times. While you're doing this, for a more intense hum, you can actually close your ears also. Like put your fingers on your earlobes and close them. And that will intensify the hum because the sound hums inside your head. And very soon your entire head, your chest, your body will start humming along with you like this. continue humming for a while. Okay, relax. How many of you could feel the humming reverberate inside your head even after the humming, you stop humming? Right? You would feel that humming inside your face and in your chest. So the more you practice it, if you do it for like 21 minutes, this humming is a very intense exercise. Great. So these are things you can practice pretty much anywhere. And these are all revived by Swamiji. Swamiji has taken all these ancient techniques and then put them in modern contexts. In fact, search for these techniques along with Swamiji's name. You will see a whole bunch of what are called kriyas. Kriyas are a combination of visualization, yoga postures, and also breathing techniques. When done together, they actually have very powerful medicinal, sorry, I won't say medicinal, it's a very powerful effect in cooling the body, right? So we're going to talk about kriyas at the end of this whole session. Wait till then to hear a little bit more, but you can search online for Nithyananda kriyas and you will find them, okay? With this, let's move on to the next section. Okay, here I'm going to talk about sustainable mental health and AI. I have practiced, AI for a very long time, and I've applied AI to multiple different domains. And most recently, I've applied AI to education. And AI is an amazing area which is useful in mental health. Next slide. And the key challenge here is scale. Like sustainable mental health requires scale, and millions need help with anxiety, loneliness, and depression. But the primary challenge is lack of access to resources. And it's like the people who are in poverty, the people who really who suffer more often from mental health issues that, like we shared before, are the ones who are unable to access such resources. At least one thing that everyone needs, like people need a spiritual solution for mental health. And if you think about it, an everyday companion, which is easily available at their fingertips to handle emotions on a daily basis, but maybe even answer bigger spiritual questions, right? And one thing that everybody or most people have at their fingertips are low-cost phones nowadays. And if you have a phone and if you have internet access, unfortunately, more and more people around the world are getting access to the internet. Having access to free spiritual AI solutions online is actually a great way for us to give mental health access to people. Let's go to the next slide. Today's AI is actually super powerful. It can be very conversational in asking questions and getting answers. And it can be very personal. It can be personalized without storing personal information. And if you have availability, like access to a phone, a smartphone, you probably can get access to these services. It can be as easy as accessing mail or WhatsApp, for example. And the beautiful thing is conversational AI can actually help address a wide variety of mental health needs. I want to say for sure here that AI cannot replace human beings. We still need people. And we need AI to address a few challenges, like address privacy, make trust and safety front and center. These are challenges that we are working through today. But if we overcome these challenges, using AI at scale for helping people with mental health is a very powerful solution. With that, I want to say a little bit about Nithyananda.ai. This is actually a solution that Nithyananda Kailasa has developed as a scalable solution for people to ask questions and get answers. It's very easy. Go to Nithyananda.ai, or you can use the barcode that's available on the screen. And it's a great you have to sign in for you to get access, but it's an amazing resource that is available to everyone. This uses the entire spiritual resources of the world, especially the teachings of Swamiji. Swamiji is essentially teaching the fundamentals of enlightenment science, or the science of happiness, as taught by Hinduism. So this Nithyananda.ai has the entire access to his teachings and the science of happiness and the science of enlightenment as taught by Hinduism. And it can answer questions from that perspective. So with that, let me show you a screenshot. I didn't have time to go through extensive demo because it can take time. But here I'm going to show you a demo. This is like a video that I captured on my real demo. I captured a video. For example, I'm asking the question, whenever I even stay at work a little bit late, I notice that I'm very anxious about how my wife will feel. What do I do about it? This AI makes use of the, if you can pause the video here, Peter, just for a second. It uses the core principles that Swamiji is taught in terms of what spiritual principles are for living, like authenticity. Authenticity is living to the highest potential. Responsibility is feeling like everything in and around you is under your control. Being integrated is all about being integrated to your thoughts and actions. Enriching is about making sure others are in this state of enlightenment along with you. And completion is what I defined before, right? So it uses these principles to help walk through someone who thinks they are a bad mother because they are spending time at work and not being able to come home. It talks about how being a bad mother or bad wife only arises from separation between these two responsibilities, and understanding that these two are both parts of you. And if you understand it from that wholeness perspective, you can actually handle the situation in a much better way. So it's a very powerful message that it helps you understand that you are a whole and you can't divide yourself into different personalities. Can we press play again? The next question is about, I'm just highlighting the different areas. The next question about someone saying, my sister and I are grown up. Whenever I ask my sister to spend time with me, I feel disappointed, and she wants to do things that are different from me. What do I do? So this now addresses how to think about this in a self-reflective way, how to introspect into the source of where this challenge comes from. Why do you feel unimportant? Why do you think your sister should do what you want to do, right? And encourages open communication, understanding that you may not be able to spend too much time, but think about it as quality time, and also cultivating this idea of self-worth, which can lead to a challenge. So play again, press play again, please. And the final example is about about facing stress and suggesting yoga and meditation techniques. If you can fast forward this, maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah. So the next example is about, oops, we went too far. Yeah, this next section is about asking for yoga and meditation techniques for de-stressing, and it chooses techniques from scriptures and shares them with you. Anyway, that's the quick demo. Let's move on to the next section. Okay, now I hand it over to Dr. Prema Kodanraman to talk about women's issues.
Good evening, friends. I'm Dr. Prema Kodanraman, OBGYN urogynecologist and a pelvic surgeon from Los Angeles. We have been enjoying last more than an hour of learning so much about mental health, wellness, and holistic approaches. It's my turn to talk about women's mental health issues, incident causes, solutions, and understanding the unique challenges and holistic approaches. The National Institute of Mental Health here shows the incidence of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health issue every year. Women are diagnosed with anxiety and depression twice as men. 25.7% of young women report having self-harming at some point. If you look at here from 2008 to 2022, the incidence of mental illness among women is increasing. It's pretty alarming. Mental health issues can affect anyone, but causes to women are very unique. Hormonal changes during menstruation, pregnancy, postpartum, and menopause can significantly affect mood and mental health. Reproductive health issues like polycystic ovary, endometriosis, infertility can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles, women often face societal expectations to fulfill multiple roles like caregiver, professional, and homemaker. And body image issues like living in the era of social media on beauty concepts and appearance leads to eating disorder, low self-esteem, self-denial, and self-hatred. Discrimination and gender inequality, experience of sexism, workplace discrimination, and the gender pay gap can lead to chronic stress. Relationship dynamics, women often become on emotional labor. So the causes are different. Now, when we look at the modern day treatments of mental illness, women seeking treatment to treat their mental illnesses are increasing, like 55.8%. It's a pretty expensive program, spending about $104 billion US dollars a year and 217 million days of work lost. It's a big loss of work, and more women are seeking help but failed outcome. The treatment methods are making people dependent on medication, and more medication, it becomes a vicious cycle. So when we look at the modern day approaches for treatment, it can be varying from psychotherapy to hospitalization. Depending on the severity of the mental illness, psychotherapy is mainly for the mild problems. It's called a talk therapy or counseling. And medications can be antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotic. There are 70 different medications available now. Usually medications change brain chemistry and with many side effects, makes it hard to be compliant. Many patients either they use medications, cannot be compliant and quit, or they become more and more dependent on medication, but the end results are not permanent cure, and it doesn't address the mental disorders, and usually it's only the symptom relief. The $1 trillion brain drain, that's not sufficiently addressing the mental disorders. And the other treatments like brain stimulation can be used in special situations where transcranial magnetic stimulation can be used for depression. Sometimes hospitalization when women become danger to themselves and others, and also it's an expensive way of treating mental illness. So many of these current treatments primarily focus on symptom management rather than addressing the underlying causes at different levels. In many parts of the world, access to mental health are very limited because it's very expensive. And social stigma around mental illnesses also prevent people to seek the treatment. So by knowing the different reasons for women's mental illness and also the available treatments are not that effective, let's learn from Kailasa a holistic approach with proven results by empowering women. So when we go into the depth of the empowering methods before, so let's read this very powerful verses from Manuvati Dharma Shastra, chapter 3 and verse 56. It's the law of Manu, the oldest legal text, Hindu jurisprudence, says where women are worshipped, there the gods rejoice to the welfare of humanity. On the other hand, where they are not honored, all rights are futile. The second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021. Very powerful words about women. Women, by their very DNA, have the capacity and groundedness to hold an ecosystem or family or a team or a community together. So women have their own intuitive intelligence in the field of keeping something very stable, keeping it together and making it functional. So Hinduism creates an ecosystem for every woman to manifest that possibility and that power. So this is the great way to start, where Manuvati Dharma Shastra and Swamiji making a foundation in Kailasa, bringing the ancient Hindu wisdom, reviving the ancient Hindu wisdom and creating a Kailasa with various projects empowering women. Let's look at details about each level, how this empowering happening in the Kailasa. These policies are mapped to the Manuvati Dharma Shastra, and Swamiji revived matrilineal society to empower women here. So the political empowerment, Paramashiva declares in Atharva Veda, women should take part in the legislative chambers, put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in Kailasa. While Kailasa's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women, currently women make up 90% of the governance in Kailasa. So when we empower women, they can be great leaders. So we may need a woman president. So at the free physical and mental wellness, this free medical care is provided using various approaches: allopathy, naturopathy, Ayurveda, Siddha. It's it's a free medical care is provided, and along with spiritual and psychological support and counseling to all women. So over $10 billion have been invested in women's health at Kailasa. This is very impressive. And again, a spiritual wellness, a core indigenous cultural aspect of Hinduism is being revived as part of Kailasa by Swamiji is the mother worship. The matrilineal society that used to exist in ancient Hindu nations. It's very important to know in Kailasa, women are worshipped and revered and have a secure sexual harassment-free ecosystem due to its zero tolerance policy against sexual harassment and exploitation. And it creates the most safest environment for women on planet Earth. At social prominence, Swamiji has worked tirelessly for gender equality, not only in the economic society, but also in the spiritual and religious realm. The Sannyas Sampradaya, the monastic order in Kailasa, is established by Swamiji is unique in that the free ordains women and allows women to perform temple rituals. This is the real true reviving of the ancient Hindu tradition. So there are 108 free educational economic projects are functioning at Kailasa since 2009. Here are some 5, the most important I'm mentioning here. The Kailasa's Nithyananda Lakshmi, the world's first Hindu microfinance project for women. Here it gives the economic freedom to find employment. Kailasa's Ankita program is an educational program. So it's mostly educate female child and women to empower them. And Nithyananda's Women Foundation, it helps Indigenous women to become again financially, to get financial freedom and emotional support. EN Pregnancy is a great program where it supports pregnant women for having a painless delivery and a blissful birthing experience. So by looking at all this, empowering women's projects happening in Kailasa is very powerful. And through this, there is a proven way to holistic approach and a proven way to for women to have a mental health. The next slide.
Only feminine.
Yeah, I think it's a video to be played. Let's hear from Swamiji, his powerful message and a description of a woman by him.
Energy can be given the word. Only feminine energy can be given the word, given the title sacred, because when it is awakened, it does so much in your system. And it has nothing to do with your gender. That's the important thing. The gender, male or being female, nothing to do with it. It is something to do with your inner quality. And next word, awaken. Only the feminine energy, sacred feminine, need to be awakened. You already have too much masculine. The whole world is suffering with too much masculine energy. If at all politics can be handed over to women, so much good would have happened to the human society, human civilization. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women, it would have been completely family-based civilization. So naturally, everybody would have had their basic needs. All the basic needs would have been supplied to the whole world. Only the feminine energy need to be awakened. Only that can be called as sacred. Let me define the sacred feminine. Understand? The extraordinary creativity. Creativity will never be possessive.
So in summary on women's mental health, yes, women do face unique challenges. It's to be approached at multi-dimensional level. And Kailasa is a model infrastructure, not only empowering women at all levels and bringing the best within them, like leadership, stability, powerfulness, and divinity. And from my personal experience, I have like 14 years of medical education and practicing for 25 years of women care and being there in women during their most sensitive time, pregnancy, delivery, taking care of all age group women. I want to share only after being part of the Kailasa, multiple initiations from Swamiji, the multi-dimension of myself that we realize, and also that I want to give a true statement here to all the viewers and listeners to hear that I'm well known for my surgery in my hospital and where I'm practicing. And after being with Swamiji for almost about 20 years, none of my patients need pain medicine and none of my patients need narco. And it's his initiation, empowerment of women. We do like get powerful life, whatever you are, like wherever you are, to lead a very powerful, healthy life. So for all women, mothers, homemakers, anyone, everyone, get empowered with Kailasa ecosystem created by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Paramahamsa Nithyananda. And it's a great coincidence that Navaratri festival is coming. It's an annual Hindu festival. We celebrate Divine Mother energy for 9 nights. And I do pray to Parashakti and Divine Mother Energy to bless all women all over the world with excellent health and bliss, and bless me with the wisdom and energy to serve women always. And Swamiji to bless every woman all over the world. And here, the science of completion, it's one of the solution for all mental disorders. It's a meditation technique based on the science of enlightenment revealed and taught by His Divine Holiness. And it works, prevent and treat all kinds of mental disorders, not only for women, it's for everyone. It relieves unresolved emotions and past traumas, building resilience and improving healthy relationship, and leads to an empowered life. And there is a short video, listen from his powerful words and transforming message to all. Thank you.
Listen to this sacred secret. Listen. Initially, when you put this idea into you, you will have too much of resistance, anger, guilt, fear, too many things coming out. And powerlessness. No, this is not for me. First of all, this may not be true. Second, no, this is, even if it is true, not for me. No, this may be true for the people who don't have to work for their food and paying the bills. No, maybe it is true for the people who are sitting in Kailasa and enjoying the happy, free life. All kinds of thought currents will come inside. Sit, have a little patience, listen. Listen to yourself and start penning down precisely what all resistance, anger, fear, guilt, powerlessness, what all is getting blurted out, vomited by your immature mind. Listen, pen down. Do completion 2-3 times. Sit with mirror. Actually, I tell you, if you sit with mirror and chant Mahavakya and do completion, you will see me in the mirror, then all your patterns are complete. Till you see me in the mirror, do completion with the mirror. Your form will disappear and my form will appear there. Till then, sit in front of mirror and do completion. Understand? This is the initiation I am giving to all of you. Sit in front of mirror, pen down all these patterns and fears and everything, intensely chant Mahavakya and see the mirror and start reliving this pattern, start completing. You will see me appearing in the mirror and making you completely complete and making you manifest powerful cognitions and powers. Till I appear in the mirror, continue completion. And I tell you, I will really appear in the mirror and make you complete and make you manifest powers. When I say, I mean. Just sit in front of the mirror and declare simple integrity to me. Start chanting Mahavakya and remember this powerful cognition, today's cognition. Pen down all the incompletions, fears, anger, guilt, impossibility, patterns which tells you no, you need to be dependent internally, externally other than Paramashiva. Pen down all of that. Whatever patterns tells you, you need to be internally, externally dependent on something else other than Paramashiva. Pen down. Pen down. Sit
in front of mirror and start completing all those patterns and incidents, root incidents, everything. Let all the incompletions melt down, be completely burnt away. You will see in your pure inner space and in the mirror me appearing.
Now we invite Dr. Patel to come talk about children and mental health issues.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sailesh Patel. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in California. So, as adult and women, children also have unique challenges for mental health. And we have the next slide. So I have here some of the fact sheets from World Health Organization. We'll quickly go over. 1 in 7, 10 to a 19-year-old experience mental disorders. And another alarming number is 13% of this is a global burden of disease in this age group. And suicide is the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. And 296 million people globally deaths were attributed to drug use. Can we have next slide? So here are some of the unique challenges for children, which includes physical, emotional, and social changes, adversity such as poverty, abuse, exposure to violence, pressure to conform with peers, exploration of identity, and so forth. So can we have next slide? So based on this alarming number, we know that conventional approach have not been enough to address all these challenges. To address these challenges, it is crucial to address it at an early age, and prevention is one of the key components. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramasivam, had given solution of supplementing conventional education with Hindu education system, which is mind-body consciousness-based education system, which, and it can be sustainable development. Can we stay on the previous slide? In Hindu education system, basic tools to awaken knowledge are taught, and other consciousness-based approaches, which were discussed earlier, practiced on a regular basis, including yoga, meditation, and sattvic diet. Swamiji had given details how this Hindu education system promotes freedom to explore and be creative, and not force children into strict curriculum, and nor evaluate them based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children and helps them feel powerful. It encourages students to travel, discover, invent their own methodologies, and take leadership roles in early life. Can we have next slide? So in next few slides, I have summarized some of the case studies done on students at Nithyananda Gurukul, where Hindu education system is integrated with conventional educational. Here is the result of whole brain activation studies for which Bender Gestalt test was performed. This test assesses visual motor skills, development, neurological functioning, and level of whole brain activation. This test is divided in 2 phases. First phase or copy phase, students are first asked to copy 12 images of various complexity. This copy phase reflects the student's visual motor intelligence and maturity. In second phase, recall phase, which is recall phase, students need to remember all the images of previously drawn without seeing them. The recall phase reflects students' visual recall intelligence. And the tests were performed on 75 students, and the results showed an average percentile rank of 95.7 for copy phase and 89.91 for recall phase. These high scores are indicative of above average results. So this is impressive numbers. On the next slide, we have numbers from Sloan IQ test, which is highly validated intelligent test, measures a variety of capabilities, including comprehension, arithmetic, and visual motor capabilities. And these results showed 50% of students with total English immersion fell into category of genius and very high superior intelligence, IQ score of 120 and above. So it shows very impressive numbers. Next category, intellectual maturity compared to exact age. And average intellectual age was 2.7 years ahead of chronological age. 83% of students were 1 to 6 years ahead of actual age, and 53% students were 2 to 6 years ahead. So that's really impressive numbers. So this is small studies. Of course, more studies are needed. But in summary, can we have next slide? This gives anecdotal evidence of integrating Hindu education system with conventional education at an early age in children, leading to impact in intellectual and mental health, and evidence of whole brain activation and high level of thinking. Policies need to change to integrate such education into conventional curriculum. And of course, as I said, more studies are needed for this evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a good sustainable development. Okay, I hand over to next speaker.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patel. And I'm going to very quickly do our conclusion. Thank you so much to everyone who's made it all the way through. After the conclusion, we're going to have a kriya, which we invite people to stay. It's a relaxation and stress reduction kriya. If you have to go on for any other UN sessions or anything else, Science Summit sessions or anything else, you're free to go, but we'd invite everyone else to be able to stay. But just briefly, it's our conclusion that these mind-body model that we've been discussing and these lifestyle model we've been discussing for mental health treatment would help the UN achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Really, many of their goals would be achieved by adopting this lifestyle. At NHU, the Nithyananda Hindu University, we aspire to be a world's leader in the study of mental health, of enlightenment, and of superconsciousness. And we very sincerely and formally and informally invite anyone who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise. We invite you to collaborate with us to participate in research. Of course, we would appreciate funding. As you can see, there's been remarkable research findings, and all the research we've published has been very remarkable, very outside of the ordinary findings. And we're very sure the more research we do, the more we're going to find things like this. So anyone who wants to collaborate, we'd love to talk to you. My email and Peter Bloomfield, my email, and Sri Nithyananda, his email as well. They're both posted at the bottom. Also, policymakers for children's mental health, we invite you to contact us for collaboration for how to incorporate this approach to traditional education and for further research. And then, of course, the Padma Shri Voham program is a program that I referred to that showed profound positive effects on mental health, reduction in depression, anxiety, and stress, extreme improvement in well-being, mindfulness, and overall health. That program is ongoing. You can find it at padmashrivoham.org. So we invite policymakers, we invite academicians, and other politicians, anyone, to contact us to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and bring higher possibilities of mental health and overall life and potential to the global community. So with that, thank you so much for everyone who came. If you're able to stay, we invite you to stay for our kriya, which will be led by Dr. Nithyananda. Shall I play the video, Mukta, or do you want to speak first?
Yes. Play the, I think, like I said before, Kriya is a combination of yoga positions, yoga asanas, breathing techniques, and visualization. And Swamiji has shared 108 kriyas for a variety of diseases and disorders to alleviate, use in conjunction with other approaches. And this video will introduce the kriyas and what do they mean and why they are so powerful. And after that, I'll walk you through a very simple kriya for stress relief. But let's start with this one. Please play.
The science of kriyas.
Blood flow, breathing air flow, thought flow. You have something called energy flow continuously happening in you. In this energy circulation, energy flow, if there is a disturbance in some part, for example liver, kidney or heart, intestine, at some part, if there is a disturbance in this energy circulation, that is when you start developing diseases and disorders and disturbances. Disease, disorders, disturbances expresses itself in different ways.
The human body has 7 circuits: blood circuit, circulatory system, nerve circuit, the nervous system, prana circuit, the respiratory system, digestive circuit, excretory circuit, reproductive circuit, and energy circuit. Of these circuits, the energy circuit is governed by the Kundalini energy. Though not spoken much by the medical science, but elaborate references have been given for Kundalini energy in the Vedic tradition. The Kundalini energy is the innate, immense potential energy in every individual that helps complete the energy circuit. How does Kundalini energy reach different parts of the body? Let us take the example of a water tank. A water tank is a structure which stores water. This water is distributed to different places through the pipelines, which forms a circuit. The pipelines end in outlet taps through which the water reaches the end users. Similarly, the Kundalini energy reaches the different parts of the body through the 72,000 nadis or energy channels. Let's say, for instance, there is a block somewhere in the circuit of pipelines. Then what happens? There is no flow of water. Then you identify and correct the block. Even if the blockage is removed, water has to be pumped in for the flow to resume. Similarly, when there is a block in the energy circuit in the body, there is impedance to energy flow forward, and it results in disease in that particular organ. The Kundalini energy in our body is like the water in the water tank. Kriyas are powerful tools which help to remove the energy blockage and restore the energy flow. When the body is aligned in certain postures during kriyas, the energy block is removed. Once the block is removed, the kumbhaka pumps in the Kundalini energy, just as the water gets pumped in to the pipeline once the block is removed. When the energy flow is re-established, energy starts flowing and the disease is healed.
Now, if your body is put in certain position, that energy blockages get removed. The energy circulation, that plumbing gets properly aligned. The wiring gets properly aligned. After that, the kumbhaka starts pumping the energy into that circuit. See, putting your body in certain asana makes the circuit blockage free. The circuit becomes perfect. But only through the kumbhaka, the energy gets pumped into the circuit. This is exactly the principle on which kriya works.
Kriyas are a unique combination of asanas, pranayamas, and kumbhakas, wherein they are more effective and the individual asanas and pranayamas.
Even for few seconds, if the energy circuit route is aligned and energy is pumped, you are out of the disease. You are out of the disorder. You are free. These kriyas are not just ordinary asana, ordinary yoga postures, ordinary kumbhaka, ordinary pranayama. It is like two different chemicals. Separately, if you take, it may take 10 years for you to cure the disease. But mixed properly in certain combination, it removes the disease in 2 days, in one dosage.
The kriyas help to restore the energy imbalance, and which results in healing diseases. Kriyas help to heal the body, experience extraordinary powers, and to have spiritual experience in the body.
These kriyas are my unique contributions to the world. The kriyas have 7 ingredients. 1, yoga. 2nd, kumbhaka, pranayamas. 3rd, visualizations. 4th, verbalization, means chanting of some mantra internally. See, internally when you create the sound, it's called mantra. Externally when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, internal verbalization. 5th, chanting, external, the sound you are hearing. And 6th, now I am adding karanas, the different Shivadandava karanas. 7th, I am adding the recent discoveries of modern day gymming and weightlifting. So all these 7 put together, I work on your body and mind, creating yogic body and Vedic mind. Power, stamina, flexibility, physique, energy. All the 5 put together is yogic body. I am using all the 7 ingredients to create yogic body for you.
Shall I start the music and then you'll announce the kriya?
Yeah, I can just walk everybody through the kriya. It's actually, the kriya has 3 steps. It's a kriya for hypertension, which also relieves stress. Hypertension essentially is a high blood pressure, which happens because of stress, right? So this kriya has simple 3 steps. It actually builds on top of what we did before, right? Earlier, we learned how to do Nadi Shodhana, which is breathe in through one nostril, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in through that nostril and breathe out. So that's one thing we learned. We're going to do that first. Then the second step is you sit in a special posture. Do we have the picture of that posture? There is a posture. I shared a picture yesterday. Do we have that in the slide?
This is the last slide, Mukta.
Okay. I think we need to bring that picture. If somebody can add that picture to the slide, to the next slide, that'll be great. So you have to sit in a special posture. It is not very difficult. It is, you sit with your knees drawn to your chest, and then you just put your hands around your knees and hug them and pull them closer. That's it, right? So that way you are sitting with your knees drawn in and your heels touching as close to your body as possible. You just have to look ahead. That's the posture. Peter will show the picture. That's the second step. In that posture, you just hum intensely. And the humming is something I already shared with you before. And so the third step is lie down And in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates intense humming in your body. It creates an elevated feeling. Just lie down with that feeling and unclutch from everything. So I've taught you unclutching like before. We started off the session with it. I taught you that alternate nostril breathing, and I taught humming. Now we're just going to put them all together into one long kriya meditation. That's super simple. So let's get started. Peter, you can play the music. And let's start by doing Nadi Shodhana, which is close your right nostril, breathe in through your left nostril, and then close your left nostril, breathe out through your right nostril, and then breathe in again through your right and breathe out through the left. This is one cycle. Do this cycle for 21 times. Let's start with that. That's the step one. Step two is this picture. Sit like this picture, holding your knees close to your chest, and then do intense humming. That's for 7 minutes. And then finally, we leave you with the lying down and unclutching. And typically, this combination of these three, doing this before you go to sleep, is very, very powerful. It will de-stress your entire body very beautifully. Okay, let's start with Nadi Shodhana. If Peter, you could play the music. With your thumb, close your right nostril, start breathing in. Then close your left nostril and breathe out through your right nostril. Then breathe in through your right nostril and then breathe out through your left. Do this 21 times. pause the video? Can you pause the video? Great. Now, Peter, if you can move to the next slide and show the posture. Please sit in this posture and then hum intensely. Just like we said before, just hum intensely sitting in this posture. Let's do this for a few minutes. You can play the music too, Peter. Thanks. Now, lie down. With the intense, you will feel the intense humming, the coolness all over your body. Just lie down. and unclutch from all thoughts. When you unclutch from your thoughts, you will start focusing more on the music and the sound outside of you. Unclutch from that also. When you unclutch from that, you will start hearing your own body sound, breathing, heartbeat. Unclutch from that also. Fall into a deep silence. Open your eyes slowly and pause the music Peter. Peter, you can pause the music. Thank you. Great. I hope you all experienced a wonderful, relaxed experience. Like, our goal was not only to provide you with the science, but also provide you with experiential understanding of what Swamiji is trying to do at a very surface level. I mean, there is a lot of depth to the meditation, mind-body consciousness studies, but we just wanted to share some experiential, some experiences with you, so you can find out for yourself. So I hope you can practice this meditation before going to sleep every day. It's very powerful, not only in de-stressing, but also in performing to your life's best. Great. Thank you all. I really appreciate all of you for coming. Peter, I hand it over to you to wrap up.
Yes, thank you so much, Mukta, for your beautiful job, and thank you to everyone who made it this long. We really appreciate you coming. And again, just a last invitation for people to join the Paramashivaham program or contact us at Nithyananda Hindu University about research collaborations, funding collaborations, anything that you want to collaborate with. And we really believe that this science will absolutely 100% help the UN achieve their sustainable development goals, and are excited to further collaborate with the United Nations going forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.